legends. They're all around the world, and people think of them during a spooky season, but I think we're all surprised to find that many of these stories are considered to be absolutely true by the people who have experienced them growing up. So we have this huge list of scary things, right? Monsters that go bump in the night that people really believe.
Why do monsters go bump? You ever wonder? You think they would make a scarier sound than a bump?
I mean, a schloop would be objectively more
I don't know.
frightening.
What about a tiptoeing monster? That seems like the most horrifying thing.
Well, now it's
Well, you
agile.
never hear 'em coming.
It's a whole nother...
Yeah.
You never hear them coming.
They're just there.
They are quite agile. They're actually, many monsters, unbeknownst to most, are trained ballet dancers.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yep.
Oh,
That's what Monster Academy is about.
I don't know. You're talking about Monsters, Inc.?
Probably,
I don't
yeah.
know what Monster Academy. I'm behind the times.
Education and the privatization of it has just been disastrous for humans and monsters alike.
That's a good point.
But no, to your point, what about, okay, so if they go bump in the night, that's because people heard weird noises in their houses, but then it might surprise some of us to know that there are a lot of monsters in the modern day that people genuinely believe in, and some of these monsters, one of them announces itself, right?
Oh yeah, but it's not usually in a house. Sometimes one of the best known sightings of this thing did occur while inside a house.
Yeah.
But where it usually happens is inside a rainforest, specifically on the island of Java in Indonesia. So guys,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna take you there, right?
Okay,
So
take us.
imagine that you're in the middle of this dense rainforest. There's animals, there's plants
Beautiful.
everywhere. Think about the insect sound.
So calming.
Yeah.
Like-
is it nighttime or daytime?
Let's say it's dusk, so right
Okay.
as the light is starting to dim, right?
Yeah.
Imagine you hear this. Oh-hoo! Oh-hoo! All of a sudden, this thing swoops down from above, and it's got huge wings.
Yeah.
It's coming straight for you. You see the talons.
Okay.
You see the dark eyes. Then you notice the face looks a little bit like a primate, like a monkey or a great ape. What? Ladies and gentlemen, we've just encountered an Ahool.
It's named after the noise.
It is. So this thing, a monster that we're
Yeah,
talking about,
yeah.
is something called a cryptid. Guys, why don't you tell everybody what a cryptid is?
Oh, a cryptid is an animal that a lot of people believe exists, but has never been proven to exist. So things like the Loch Ness Monster, Bigfoot.
Another thing that I didn't mention yet is it's got gray fur all over its body. So it is more bat or monkey-like looking, just
Okay.
with, if you imagine the bat wings, right?
Yeah.
Huge bat wings
yeah.
with
But
claws.
bigger than any bat we would ever encounter in the wild. You know, bats are little fellas. This is like quite massive.
Now, you know, it's possible that on this island in Indonesia, there is a relic population or an offshoot population of bats that did evolve and became much, much larger. But there are so many stories, and they're stories that are handed down by mouth, the verbal stories that we
That
know.
old oral tradition.
The oral tradition,
Yeah.
exactly. And what we've learned on our show, stuff they don't want you to know, is that the oral tradition becomes a game of telephone often.
Excuse me. Sorry.
Oh yeah, exactly. Well, so I'll say a story into my phone, then Ben will pick it up. He'll hear not exactly what he wants to hear, but he's going to pick
Parts
up
of it.
He's going to pick up selective
Yeah.
pieces of that story and maybe add his own.
Yeah, I got it. Hang on, I got a call.
Yo,
It's huge.
Got it.
It's like 12 feet in wingspan.
got bat qualities, monkey face, giant talons. Okay,
110.
boom. Spreading that far and wide now. That's
Now that doesn't necessarily mean that's what's happening with the Ahool, right? We just know that that is a natural thing that occurs with storytelling. Right?
Sure.
What people have been doing for millennia.
It might surprise people to know that Indonesia was ground zero for cryptids that were confirmed to exist in the past. So like it is possible that if you are looking at places to discover an animal that has not been officially discovered yet, then a place like Indonesia would be a great location to start. Yeah.
So there's another thing that we sometimes talk about, and that's when an outsider comes into a place. So everything around them is new, right? And they're discovering it for the first time. I hope you could see those air quotes. And then the stories that are told to them, usually through a translator of an indigenous population, they get morphed and changed in translation.
and that's an even more game of telephone situation
Right.
where you're dealing with lore from a culture that's new to you through a translator. And even with the direct translation, there are things, cultural differences in terms of language, in terms of, just expressions, for example, that might be completely lost in translation. So you're kind of set up to not fail, but to be confused in the first place.
Freestyle.
Yes, yeah.
Like, you're talking about like the coelacanth. One of the ugliest fishes ever.
Is that the blobby one?
No, and actually that one looks really nice when it's in the ocean.
Take it out though.
It's not enough air pressure.
No.
Wait, let's go back to this guy, this naturalist that
Yes.
encountered this outside.
Okay.
Because then he wasn't sure what it was, but he knew it had wings and it swooped down at him, right? At least according to the story. Then he's back where he lives in a house of some sort.
San Francisco, presumably.
That's when he hears the Ahool, the big Ahool.
I'm sorry.
That's
His home where he's staying on this trip.
in Java, correct. He hears it outside, and then he runs outside as fast as he can because he heard that sound again.
Yeah.
And he tries to chase the thing, but he can't find it. It kind of goes away. But again, it looks like a large creature.
He's a braver man than I. Chased the thing? What was he armed with?
Well, he's a naturalist.
A
He
pencil?
wouldn't know what the heck
a
it
notebook?
was.
Just chutzpah, man.
It's terrifying.
I don't think it's impossible that this thing exists, but I do think there is a creature or two that could explain what Bartlett saw, the naturalist.
Yeah.
And then hearing the stories from indigenous people and like getting the translation a little wrong,
Yeah.
got confused. I think it's a specific type of owl. There are two owls.
An Ahool?
Ahool, because owls
Worth it.
make sounds similar to that, but not the same. There's an owl called a spotted wood owl,
Okay.
and it sounds like this: woo, ah, woo, ah. Now imagine there's two of these
Okay.
or more
Okay.
up in a tree above you. We're in the same scenario we began with, right?
Okay, so let's do the first owl.
Ooh. Ah.
Now imagine the first owl you hear utters the ah sound.
Oh, and then you hear the second ooh.
And what does it make?
Ooh. Ah. Ooh.
Ahool.
Uh-huh.
Guys, I'm telling you, I think that's what happened. I don't know for sure.
Well,
That's just my theory.
Can I ask though? Usually creatures like this and these reports from the indigenous folks, there's some association in culture where they teach a lesson or they represent some malevolent spirit or something like that. What's the skinny on that? Like what are these stories or anything that you encountered in looking into this thing?
There are not a lot of stories about, at least that I could find, about it being a malevolent force of some kind. It
More
was
like
just
a
as a
actual-
natural creature
Okay.
that is out there, and you gotta watch out because it is really creepy looking, and if it swoops down on you, it's got the talons, and it can probably at least injure you. Guys, I forgot to mention this. There are volcanoes
Oh, yeah.
all over Indonesia, especially Java.
Yeah, and those are proven to exist.
Yeah, yeah, they're not cryptids. They're real volcanoes, and they can be dangerous, though not often. But it does, I think, it creates, I don't know, almost like a place of wonder for anybody who's there. I can just imagine that if you live there and you grew up there, even if it's old hat, right?
Yeah.
I've lived here forever, whatever, who cares?
Sure.
If you look out, especially if you're near part of the rainforest, there's magic there.
Yeah.
Sure.
Also, it's enough that could get into the mind of even the most learned science type to perhaps color their perception of some of the things that they're experiencing.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Well, if you don't have a sense of wonder,